welcome to Lit Happens Prince Albert. It's our first ever episode, so thank you so much for tuning in to watch. I'm Kara Stomaszczuk. We're going to be talking to some of the contributors to the literary community here in Prince Albert. Little known fact maybe that there have been many great writers over the years that have written in Prince Albert, including just this little author named Lucy Maud Montgomery, among others. And another huge name in Prince Albert literary circles is Linda Monahan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I know you're kind of modest about this, but your pedigree of all the writing you've done, it's amazing. So let's maybe go back to the beginning and let's talk about what made you start writing.
What made me start writing? I really don't remember a time when I haven't written. I've been writing pretty much all of my life. I have some of my early scribblings from when I was about 5 years old, but I think when I really started doing a lot of writing was around the time my mother died when I was 17, and I kept a journal, and that journal helped me with my healing and helped me to understand what I was going through. And I think from that point on, I just never really looked back. I just kept on writing, and it's part of me. It's what I do. How I best express myself, I think, is through my writing.
Wonderful, okay. And I know the majority of your writing is poetry, so poets are such an interesting breed because it's such a condensed emotion, and yet when it's done really well like yours is, it's just such a treat to read because the words are unique, but you read it and you're just, gosh, I know exactly what that feeling is. So let's talk about some of your books of poetry because there's quite a few, and they're all quite good. So let's start with A Slow Dance in the Flames.
Okay, A Slow Dance in the Flames was my first book, which I think came out in 1998, and I had gone to summer writing school down near Regina. At St. Michael's Retreat there, and I had worked with Patrick Lane, who's a well-known Canadian poet, and Patrick Lane made me see that I had a manuscript. I thought it was just a bunch of poems. So he really encouraged me, and he sat me down on the floor and we spread the poems out all around me, and he taught me how to make an order of it and made me realize, gee, maybe I actually had something that could one day be a book here. So from there, I started sending out the manuscript, and I was really lucky to have A Slow Dance in the Flames accepted by Cotto Books fairly quickly. So that was my experience of having my first book published, and I think there's nothing more exciting than that first book. You know, any books that you get out are exciting, but that first acceptance, that first book, there's just nothing like it, really. It was just a thrilling time for me.
Very nice. And then in 2003, your next one came out, right? What My Body Knows?
What My Body Knows, yeah. That some of the poems that I had written earlier, that around the time of A Slow Dance in the Flames, ended up being in my second book because I had written quite a bit at that time. I was writing very prolifically around that time. Along with another couple of local writers, had started up a local poetry group, and we were very enthused and full of energy and sending our work out there and doing a lot of writing. And so What My Body Knows wasn't too far behind on the heels of A Slow Dance in the Flames. And many of the poems in What My Body Knows dealt with my brother's death, and it was a way for me to grieve, I think, and to write about what was going on in my life. That's mainly what I do write about, I think, is my experiences and the way I view the world. It's been said that everything's been said before, right? So the only way to make it unique is to write about the world in the way in which you see it. So that's what I try to do.
Cool. And your poems have gotten quite a bit of recognition. Would you mind telling us about some of the ways it's been featured through CBC and other channels? Or?
Yes, we used to have a program on CBC that showcased the work of Saskatchewan writers. So I had a lot of my poems and sequences of poems broadcast on CBC, both locally and nationally. And then also What My Body Knows was nominated for a Saskatchewan Book Award in the poetry category, as was A Slow Dance in the Flames in the publishing category, and Christian Writers Inc. also shortlisted What My Body Knows. So yeah, the books have done pretty well. They've gotten good reviews, so that's what a writer always hopes for, is a good review.
Absolutely. That's very nice. And you're the writer in, can we call it the writer in residence at the John M. Culinary Library in Prince
Sure.
Albert?
Right now we're calling it Writer in the Community, because I am at the library 2 days a week. I'm at the library on Wednesday afternoons and Thursday evenings, where I meet with individual writers, helping them to I critique their work for them or look at any new writing. I encourage writers, and yet at the same time, it sort of spreads out from the library. So I'm working, for instance, I facilitate a Writing for Your Life group with the Canadian Mental Health Association, and I just finished a 2-year term as writer in residence at the Victoria Hospital. So, and I've worked in the nursing homes as well, helping seniors write their life story. So it's getting me out into the community as much as it is being writer in residence at the library, because I have my finger in a lot of pots when it comes to encouraging writing.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I love all the content about your outreach program and the Pine Grove Correctional work that you do as well. I mean, that's just, I'm sure the stories you must hear are just amazing.
Very moving, and I feel like, in a way, it feels like I'm a midwife to writing a lot of times. Sometimes all you really have to do is give people permission to tell their story. A lot of times they don't know that they have a story that's worth telling, and it's just saying everybody has a story worth telling. So that's, I get as much out of it as I give, get more out of it probably than I give in return. So it's exciting for me to be able to do what I love to do so much.
Wonderful. And I bet it's getting people to put it out there must be the hardest thing, because it's such a vulnerable thing to do, to put your words in front of people.
Absolutely. It's, I often say it's the equivalent of standing naked in front of people, I think, to write poetry. So it takes a lot of courage. I taught creative writing at SciAst for pretty much close to 20 years, and I always told my students that you need to be brave in your writing and you need to tell the truth. And if you're willing to do those two things, to have courage and to be honest in your writing, that you really can't fail, that those are the most important things about writing. Technique comes later on. If you're willing to be brave and tell the truth, you're going to write something that's worthy.
Okay. So your newest book is called Verge, and I don't know about everyone else out there, but I know I would like to hear a sample from the poet's mouth. So would you mind reading us one of your works?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This poem is called The Ironing, and it's a memory of my mother, who used to iron everything. I think a lot of women from that generation ironed everything. So, The Ironing. The air is stunned by noon heat and the slammed door of Dad's leaving. The old ironing board set up in the crowded kitchen, wicker basket filled to overflowing, Mum in pedal pushers and a sleeveless blouse, her hair small X's of bobby pins. Steam hissing up as she places a damp tea towel, a flex of her slim wrist as she slides the iron back and forth over the width of Dad's white work shirts, the stiff arch of his collar. Fold and press and flip and fold and press, the red transistor radio singing its promises. That's okay, Rose would say, don't you worry none. We'll have good times by and by, next fall when the work's all done. The hush of her soft voice as she irons creases sharp as knives into Dad's black dress pants, the way she comforts herself with song.
Were there any poets that you would say influenced your developing of your writing?
Oh, absolutely. I've got many, but one of my favorite all-time poets would be Alden Nolan. He was a Canadian poet who, from the Maritimes actually, who unfortunately died fairly young, but it was Alden Nolan that taught me to write what I feel deepest and hardest. He said that's where poetry is if you're willing to write what you feel deepest and hardest. So I always keep that in mind whenever I'm writing Alden Nolan's good advice. And of course there are many other Canadian poets and Saskatchewan poets that I'm a huge fan of as well.
That's beautiful. Wonderful. So you do have a few books that are out there. If people want to go and pick one up, what do they have to do to find you out there?
Any bookstore. They can just, any bookstore will order my books if they don't have them on the shelves, for sure. Like
Okay.
McNally Robinson, any of the bookstores. Yeah.
Awesome. And again, just really quickly, just to remind people, if they want to get their toe in the water of writing and maybe have a chance to get a little bit of wisdom from someone like you, what do they do?
Come down to the library, and I'm there every Wednesday afternoon from noon till 4, and every Thursday evening from 5 to 9. But they can call me, my home phone number, or at 764-1968, or email me at lmonahan@sastel.net, or contact the library and set up an appointment. I'm taking appointments right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, so yeah, trying to fit everybody in. So.
Well, great. Thank you so much. And again, when you're out there looking around for a great read, make sure to pick up Linda Monahan's books. Great poetry.